Hello YouTube, it's Team Endgame here, bringing you a deck breakdown. Now it's been a while, we do apologise for the lack of content of late, but due to national tournaments etc, we tend to hibernate a bit, don't we, Aaron? Do a bit of...
You tend to hibernate.
Sheesh! Serious play is not fun play as such, so therefore content lacks a bit. However, I'm bringing you today a breakdown of my Aqua Force deck. This is a deck I've competed with non-stop lately, and it only really tends to lose with, if you have a decent hand, to double crit and crit per game. And to be fair, I am very happy if a deck can do that quite consistently. It's a very annoying deck to go against, and I've spent so long trying to make this deck as good as it can be. So, without further ado, here we go. As Aaron's requested, I start from grade 3s instead of 0s, so we'll start with that. We have 4 Maelstroms. So the normal limit break one, which is just...
Limit break 1? What?
The limit break 1? That's not a limit break. You know what I mean. So it's the original limit break Maelstrom one, which is limit break 4. When you attack 4th, you can... it gets 5k, and if it hits, you retire and draw. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't really gone for the effect in a long time.
Yes, so
it hits, yeah. Counterblast 1. You retire it and draw. You've then got 4 Glory Maelstrom, which is the cross ride of it, which is limit break 5. You counterblast 1, and they can't guard with grade 1s or higher. Is it Darren? The ones
That's your card.
Yes, grade 1s or greater. I just clarify these things as I'm still a bit iffy on certain cards. I'm not going to say I'm an absolute knowledge buff on all the cards in the game, but just to make sure I don't make any mistakes, I'm just clarifying. So, the reason I run this is because in the build that I have created, you only really ever go for stride. So therefore, all you need is a Maelstrom Vanguard was the only thing that I wanted to do. So you may as well, for one, go for a cross ride because it helps against any kind of mirror matches, which I actually experienced today, our locals. I went for a cross ride, so the Aqua Force was not hitting me correctly at all. And it's just generally a defensive maneuver. It also works with the critical trigger for Maelstroms, which if you go for a cross ride with the crit, 4th attack, counterblast, they can't guard grade 1s or higher, they can't guard grade 0s either because of the crit trigger. They just can't guard and you win. There's no double intercept 1 to pass. I've never actually really done it, so it doesn't matter, but it's just nice the potential's there for that cross ride. There's not really any further reason. Moving on to grade 2s. I ran 8 grade 3s, but I ran 12 grade 2s. This is because the grade 2 presence is the most important thing when it comes to Aqua Force. So for starters, you have Tidal Assault, which is your I attack the Vanguard for whatever number it is with a boost, ideally. Or if it's in grade 2, you attack with that boost, but I'll get to that later. Restand for minus 5k. Rearguard only effect, of course. And then you have 4 of the Couple Dagger Sailor, which is the promo that came out, which is the attack counterblast 1. It has to be the first attack. It gains 2k, and then switches with the back row. So it will move back to there, and whatever's behind it will move forward. Very similar sense, that's why I also run the Sweeper card for Maelstrom. It does the exact same effect as Couple Dagger, although it's an 11k swinger because you have a Maelstrom Vanguard, so think of it as a 12k swinger for the deck, and it does it for free. But the good thing about Couple Dagger, and the most stupid thing about Couple Dagger and Tidal Assault, is they're usable as soon as you drop them. You don't need a grade 3. So you use Sweeper as a beat stick up until that point. So those are the grade 2s. Grade 1s, you have 4 of the Blue Storm Perfect Guard. There is no reason you should be running any kind of Perfect Guard that requires another copy of it in the drop zone. This deck does not counterblast enough to warrant it. There is no kind of Perfect Guard that I've seen that's come out that would warrant that. You're looking for quite a quick game in here as well, bearing in mind, so it's unlikely that you'll even find more than one that you want to use in a game because of the stalling element in this deck and the anti-meta element to it. You've got 4 of the stride unit, simply because you have to stride as soon as you can. If you have the opportunity to, you will want to stride first, you stride. So even though you have grade 3 opportunities to discard, this deck needs to have as many options as it can in its hand. You can't afford to drop 2 cards. But I have worked out a slight element to try and recover from that, but again I'll get to that as we get to the options that come up. 4 of the Mercenary Brave Shooter. It's the 10k swinger. If you have 2 or less rested rear guards, just think of it as your 10k swinger. Just moving on to the 10k swinger for Blue Storms. That is a tech of 1, simply because you just need beat sticks in this deck. You are doing the switching, you are beating your opponent down. You need your rear guards to be hitting. So the only consistent way to do that is to have all of your options available to you. If you have grade 1s, it still needs to hit a rear guard. This is the reason I've run it, but the reason I've run the Maelstrom shooter over the Blue Storm one is because, referencing back to the grade 2s, you only have one of the grade 2s which are actually a Blue Storm. Coupled XL, obviously the Blue Storm, and Tidal Assault is not a Blue Storm. So therefore the change was made to make it more consistent. So that is the grade 1s. Finally, the grade 0s, well not finally, it's got strides after this. You've got the Blue Storm Cadet Marios as your starter, which is your Blue Storm Searcher for Maelstrom, which is there as your 3rd attack. If it boosts and hits, then you will look at the top 5 for Maelstrom grade 3. This is so key because you're trying to stay on grade 2. If you're losing that extra drive check from not running grade 3, you still maintain that hand advantage because you just plus a grade 3, which also enables you to play very aggressive on your grade 3 ride. So that's why I'm using that. 4 of the kitchen heel triggers because he looks cool. That is about it. And you can also say someone, if you do get it, they got served. Haha. Anyway, you've got the crit trigger for Maelstroms because you may as, if you're going to run this a crit trigger, you may as well run that. It has the option of boosting the Vanguard to stop them from going grade 0s. If you know you've got a load of grade 0s, why not? You can just boost that stride unit and off you go. Now the most odd thing you'll notice, having looked at, well you may have seen it on the Wales team list that came up, because we won the Wales one as a team, so very proud of that, but that's where it's been somewhat published before. I go for 8 draw triggers. Now you think, wow, you just have no crit pressure, no nothing. Aqua Force is not about any kind of critical pressure. If you'll notice, if you play Aqua Force with high crit triggers, you will not have the hand advantage to enable the drop, to play aggressive. So the draw triggers are there simply to gain the hand advantage. You will take damage to then gain hand advantage. You can drive check and gain hand advantage. It's not the criticals that are the threat, it's the amount of attacks and the sheer overwhelming power of the field. You'll notice you win with Aqua Force if you have the hand to drop. If you don't have the hand to drop, you just don't win. So spontaneously I went for these 8 draw triggers and it worked. It worked ridiculously. So I will just stick with that. The only thing worth noting though is I did take out the draw trigger that's into Soul, add power to something by 3k, which is a nice little 4k unit. However, due to aggression reasons and the lack of boosters sometimes with something like Tidal Assault, you sometimes need to drop it. So you can attack for 9, restand, with a boost attack for 9. So you maintain that pressure. So that is the trigger lineup. Finally, the stride unit. You will have an option of Tidal Boar Dragon and Socrates, which are your 2 options for your first stride. Now, you only really go on into this one first because obviously Lambros being your final option as your GB2. If you're looking for hand advantage, you'll go for Tidal Boar, or if you don't have the counterblast available for Socrates. But Socrates is only really there to help maintain pressure with Tidal Assault, so that you can restand, you can counterblast, gain power, restand, counterblast, maintain the power. Also a nice way of using him is if you attack with a rearguard, switch, and then attack with the Vanguard straight away, ignoring the effect of the starter of course, your remaining 2 attacks will gain 5k with a counterblast. Just a nice way to use the resource which isn't really used within Aqua Force enough. But yeah, other than that, Tidal Boar is just to gain a bit of hand advantage. If you don't really have anything that you want to counterblast, you don't really have any available, don't go for that. Majority of the time I go for Tidal Boar simply because it's nice to have the draw power, and also if you have an empty rear guard over here, because you just went switch or attack them in the middle, at least you have the option of maybe getting an extra thing off if they don't get a trigger, because it activates of course on hit, so they take the damage. If they don't get a trigger, then you can decide, which is always nice if you need a booster or something and you don't really want to drop one. If it hits, oh, they got a trigger, okay, I'll drop a booster and now it's hitting. But Lambros is obviously where it's at, it's Lambroke. It is ridiculously powerful. Being the 4th attack, restand 2, gain 10k. This of course being on hit, draw a card, go up to 1, and this of course 3rd attack or more, counter +1, gain 5k. So that is the deck. Just a quick overview of how it works, I assume. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Well, I'm not sure what we like to structure it is now. We're trying to obviously keep it more interesting. So the obvious point being, you want all these draw triggers and damage. You want as many as you can, but obviously not anything past 5, or else you're dead. Hey, trying to make it enjoyable. Right, so on your grade 2 rush, you're looking for something like that. So regardless of what's in the middle, so ideally one of these because it's just a big stick at this point, you're looking to mainly get couple dagger with the sweeper because as soon as you ride grade 3, then the sweeper does the switching and it just protects the sweeper at the back. Other than that, you've got Tidal Assault here being boosted by pretty much anything, but ideally of course you want one of your 10k swingers, because if for some reason you lose Tidal Assault, you can still push it forward and still be hitting something. So that's another reason why they're really good, because even if they wipe the front row, you can still push these 10k swingers forward and they're hitting things. So that's just the most strongest point of the deck, because you're going attack, attack, attack down the middle, trigger dump here, or even better what I tend to do is attack with a niggle, attack with a niggle, attack unboosted, restand, attack with a boost. So it's just 9, 9, 9, 9. Just calling for an emergency. Hilarious! Anyway, and because you're staying on grade 2 for the extra turn, of course, the starter pressure, you're looking at the top 5 every time for that starter, for the grade 3, sorry. And because of that, you just constantly gain that hand advantage. It's obviously statistically quite likely for you to find the grade 3s, bearing in mind. And at the start of the game, the trick in this deck is always to shuffle back everything that's not a grade 2 or lower. So you want to shuffle back those grade 3s, ideally perfect guards, but if that's your only ride and you've got a grade 1, like a perfect guard, grade 1, grade 2, it's fine. All you don't need is triggers. As long as you don't get triggers in your hand, you're looking very strong. Obviously, as soon as you get to grade 3, you just ride stride regardless. You can get rid of that at this point and put a grade 3 instead of it, so you've got 11-11. There are some interesting combos you can do with Lambros. Another thing to point out is with Tidal Assault, only specifies Vanguard. So with this, as the 4th, only trying to get the 4 attacks off, it's used to attack twice on that side, or attack once and switch and then do this, but 9 to rearguard. Whether it's hitting or not, it's actually better to use the restand on Lambros because it gains 10k. So with that in mind, you would restand, gain 10k, and then you'd attack the Vanguard and then restand and attack again. So you abuse the fact it's got 10k for 2 attacks instead of 1. But of course you ideally want to hit something for 9. So if they have a 9 available, feel free to abuse that. Other than that, that is pretty much everything. You'll notice there's no things like Magnum Assault in here because it's restricted to Generation Break, and also the counterblast things used for couple dagger here, and maybe even the Socrates Stride. So it entirely depends on what you're focusing on at that time and what the situation demands. If you can't stay on grade 2 for whatever reason, you'll just be dropping grade 3s because your hand's probably overloading them with a bit because of the starter, in which case you'll have to just give them stride at that point. But the whole point of this deck, the massive strength, is the fact that you can abuse stay on grade 2, which is overly frustrating for everyone in this current format, and it is a very strong deck. Having been not as unlucky as I was, you would probably have seen this up already, but unfortunately, you know, these things happen. So, I am very proud of this deck. I would say it is, I would define this as probably the best deck of Aqua Force you could probably create at the moment for the meta, for myself, from what I've done. I can confidently say that I wouldn't change anything at this point. I've done, you know, as much as I can to adapt, and I've changed things in accordance to what I've struggled with, things like Magnum, of course not being as good as the promo. You know, the draw trigger being changed to 5k to help boosting the Tidal Assault if needs be. So yeah, that is pretty much everything there is to say about this deck. It's been very reliable. So every tournament I go to at the moment, I've always been taking it. I actually went undefeated today, which was awesome. So that is pretty much everything. Anything else, Aaron?
No.
Okay.
Sure, Aqua Force.
So stop saying that. You meant to be helping. Is there anything you'd like to say about the deck, Aaron? Anything you've noticed?
I hate Aqua Force.
He hates Aqua Force. That goes to show how good this deck is, that it annoys Aaron. So, without further ado, thank you guys for watching and listening to me. Feel free to like, comment and subscribe. And a reminder again about our Facebook page. Even though it's you may think you're already on it, we've actually updated it to a new one, a far more accessible one that we post via our own profiles. So feel free to head over there and either see a welcome page or a direction to the new one. In which case, feel free to like that as well. So again, thank you guys for watching. Feel free to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you guys later.